You feel the cold, the silence of an empty room, the lack of notifications, the crushing weight of a project or a life path that rests entirely on your trembling spine. You look around for a hand to hold, a mentor to guide, or a peer to reassure you, and finding none, you diagnose yourself as broken. You diagnose your situation as a tragedy. This is your first error. It is a fatal error. Your despair is not the result of your isolation. It is the result of your programming. You are a biological machine designed for the Pleistocene era, wired to view exclusion from the tribe as a death sentence. In the mud, thousands of years ago, to be alone was to be eaten. To be unsupported was to perish. Your anxiety is nothing more than the ghost of a dead ancestor screaming at you to find a master. But you are not in the mud. You are in a hierarchy of competence. And in this arena, the tribe is not your safety. The tribe is your anchor. Understand the physics of support. To be supported is to be leaned upon. To be part of a collective is to be averaged down to its lowest common denominator. When you crave support, you are subconsciously begging for a ceiling. You want others around you to validate your reality, but by definition, if they can understand your vision is too small. The illusion of the tribe convinces you that success is a collaborative effort. We are sold the lie of the team, the community, the network. Look closer. The history of true power is the history of singular, ruthless will. The herd moves together. The predator moves alone. When you operate with zero support, you are stripped of the greatest liability in human history, the friction of other people. Think of the energy you waste maintaining alliances, the compromise, the unspoken contracts of reciprocity, the sheer caloric burn of managing egos, soothing anxieties, and waiting for the incompetent to catch up. Support is often a euphemism for shared weakness. When men gather to support one another, they usually gather to complain, to justify their failures, and to form a consensus that the world is unfair. They use the group to hide from the brutal reality of their own agency. By standing alone, you have not lost an advantage, you have discarded a crutch. You have entered a state of pure strategic bandwidth. There is no noise, there is no consensus to build, there is only the objective and the execution. Machiavelli understood that a prince who relies on the favor of others is building his house on quicksand. If you need support to start, you will need support to sustain. And if you need support to sustain, you do not own your success. Your supporters do. They are shareholders in your life, and at any moment, they can liquidate their assets. You must shatter the lens that views isolation as a defect. You must learn to view it as a filter. The fact that you have zero support is the universe clearing the chessboard. It is removing the pawns so that the king has room to move. Stop mourning the absence of allies. Allies are potential traitors. Stop looking for a savior. Saviors require worship. Stop seeking a community. Communities enforce conformity. You are currently suffering from withdrawal, the withdrawal of external validation. It hurts because the part of you that is a slave is dying. Let it die. The silence you fear is the sound of your own sovereignty booting up. You have zero support. Good. Now you have zero excuses and zero liabilities. You are finally dangerous. Society teaches you to view isolation as a barren wasteland. They describe it as a void where resources are scarce and sanity is tested. This is a deliberate inversion of the truth designed to keep you dependent.
In the realm of high strategy, isolation is not a wasteland. It is a clean room. It is a sterile environment free from the most dangerous contaminant known to any operation, the human variable. We must map the architecture of this stronghold. When you build with zero support, you are building a structure defined by absolute structural integrity. There are no weak points because there are no joining points. There are no cracks where two distinct materials meet because you are the only material. Consider the mechanics of failure. Analyze every failed empire, every bankrupt business, every ruined reputation. Trace the fault line back to its origin. You will rarely find a failure of the leader's pure intellect. You will almost always find a failure of personnel. A lieutenant who hesitated, a partner who got greedy, a confidant who spoke when they should have remained silent, a supporter whose incompetence created a blast radius that the leader could not escape. Human beings are vectors of entropy. They introduce chaos into closed systems. Every person you invite into your circle for support brings with them a hidden payload of their own traumas, their own hidden agendas, and their own capacity for error. By operating alone, you eliminate the friction of consensus. In a group, every decision is a negotiation. You must sell your vision to people with lower IQs and lower risk tolerances than yourself. You waste vital strategic energy explaining why you are doing something rather than simply doing it. This is the death of velocity. The man with zero support operates with zero latency. Observation, decision, action. There is no gap between the thought and the execution. You become a terrifyingly efficient machine because the signal does not degrade as it passes through a chain of command. You are the general and the soldier simultaneously. Furthermore, the architecture of isolation is the only true form of security. Machiavelli warned that he who confides his secret to another makes himself that man's slave. Information is the currency of power. When you seek support, you are forced to disclose your position, your weaknesses, and your plans. You hand over the blueprints of your castle to people who have a vested interest in seeing it burn if they are not given a room within it. With zero support, your operational security is absolute. No one can sabotage a plan they do not know exists. No one can betray a loyalty that was never pledged. You become a black box to the outside world. They see the results, but they cannot see the mechanism. This makes you unpredictable and therefore unassailable. You must stop looking at your lack of resources as a deficit. You are not without help. You are without drag. You are an aerodynamic projectile. Every favor you accept is a debt you must repay with interest. Every hand that helps you up is a hand that can hold you down later. By succeeding with zero support, you owe nothing to no one. Your territory is unencumbered by mortgages of gratitude. This is the cold mathematics of the throne. A structure built by many hands belongs to the collective. A structure built by one hand is a fortress of total dominion. You are not lonely. You are fortified.
You have been conditioned to classify people into friends and enemies. This is a civilian taxonomy. In the arena of power, there are only two biological archetypes, the parasite and the prince. The tragedy of your current mindset is that you are actively seeking the parasite. You believe that support is a gift. You must undergo a violent psychological restructuring to understand that support is almost always a purchase order. Let us dissect the anatomy of the helper. Why does a man offer you his resources, his time, or his connections when you have nothing to offer in return? You foolishly attribute this to kindness. You project your own naivety onto his calculation. He is not being kind. He is buying a future option on your success. The parasite lacks the spine to hunt. He lacks the constitution to face the cold wind of risk that you are currently facing. So he looks for a host. He looks for a man with the hunger, the vision, and the raw capability to ascend. When he offers support, he is attaching a feeding tube. He offers you a small favor today so he can extract a massive tax tomorrow. He lends you a shield so he can claim he owns the victory when you win the war. He wants to be able to say, "I made him." He wants to hold the receipt of your ascent so that when you sit on the throne, he has a permanent seat at your table, a seat he did not earn, but one he purchased with a counterfeit currency called help. Contrast this with the archetype of the prince. The prince understands that the most expensive things in this world are those that are given for free. If you pay a mercenary, the contract is clear: gold for blood. Once the gold is paid, the transaction is closed. But if you accept a favor, the contract is open-ended. It is a debt that never clears. It is a psychological lien on your sovereignty. The prince refuses the free lunch because he knows it is the bait in the trap. He would rather starve for 3 days and hunt his own kill than eat from the hand of another man. Why? Because the hand that feeds you can starve you. The hand that feeds you controls the diet. You must become hyper-vigilant of the benevolent archetype. Beware the man who says, "We're in this together." He means you do the work and I will share the glory. Beware the mentor who offers unsolicited advice. He is trying to imprint his limited worldview onto your limitless potential. He is trying to turn you into a miniature version of himself, a clone of his own mediocrity. The parasite seeks validation through association. He needs to be near power because he cannot generate power. The prince generates power in the dark. He does not need a witness. He does not need a cheerleader. When you succeed with zero support, you starve the parasites. They circle you, desperate to offer a hand, desperate to be involved, desperate to be relevant. And you look at them with the cold detachment of a predator watching a fly. You do not need them. This is the ultimate insult to the herd. By refusing their help, you are denying them their primary method of control. You are proving that they are unnecessary. To the parasite, your independence is an existential threat. To the prince, your independence is the only state of being that matters. Walk alone and you walk pure. Walk with support and you carry a legion of bloodsuckers on your back.
You cling to the idea of loyalty like a child clinging to a blanket. You believe that because you have shared history, shared blood, or shared struggle, you are safe. You believe that the bonds you forge today are static, that they are made of iron. This is the delusion of the amateur. In the physics of power, bonds are not made of iron, they are made of mercury. They are fluid, toxic, and impossible to hold tightly without poisoning yourself. Machiavelli did not write The Prince to teach you how to be evil. He wrote it to teach you how to stop being a victim of reality. His verdict on human nature was absolute. Men are ungrateful, fickle, false, cowardly, covetous. This is not cynicism. This is a weather report. If you walk outside without an umbrella, you do not get to blame the rain when you get wet. If you build a life dependent on the reliability of others, you do not get to blame them when they inevitably turn. We call this the betrayal constant. Given a long enough timeline, the probability of any alliance decaying into rivalry or burden approaches 100%. Analyze the mechanics of the supporter. When someone helps you, they usually do so because your position is lower than theirs. Your success is a cute pet project. It validates their superiority. But what happens when you actually succeed? What happens when the zero support protocol kicks in and your velocity outpaces theirs? The dynamic shifts instantly. Benevolence turns to envy. The hand that patted you on the head now wants to slap you across the face. You must understand that people do not betray you because they are bad. They betray you because their self-interest has realigned. The friend who supports your startup today will resent your wealth tomorrow. The partner who backs your vision today will undermine your authority the moment it threatens his ego. The lieutenant who guards your back is simply waiting for the moment when the reward for stabbing you exceeds the reward for serving you. History is a graveyard of kings who died looking into the eyes of their most trusted advisors. Julius Caesar was not murdered by a stranger from a foreign land. He was butchered by the men he ate dinner with. He was destroyed by the very support network he believed made him strong. The knife always enters from the blind spot, and the only people allowed in your blind spot are your allies. When you operate with zero support, you remove the surface area for betrayal. You cannot be stabbed in the back if there is no one standing behind you. You cannot be mutinied against if you are the only one on the ship. The betrayal constant teaches us that reliance is a mathematical error. By needing support, you are outsourcing your survival to a variable you cannot control, the whims and emotions of another human being. You are handing them the trigger to your own destruction and hoping they never decide to pull it. Why would you take that gamble? The lone operator has no Brutus. The lone operator has no Judas. He has obstacles, certainly. He has enemies, absolutely. But he faces them front on. He sees them coming. The danger is explicit, not concealed behind a smile and a handshake. Stop seeking loyalty. It is a perishable resource. It expires the moment the environment changes. Accept the cold truth. The only person who will never betray you, never envy you, and never abandon you is the version of yourself that you are building in the dark. Everyone else is just a temporary alignment of interests waiting to decay.
We have diagnosed the disease, dependency, and identified the threat, betrayal. Now we execute the cure. We do not fix your need for support, we amputate it. We replace it with a doctrine of operational autarky. Autarky is a term from economics and grand strategy. It refers to a nation-state that functions entirely without external trade or assistance. It is a closed system. It is immune to sanctions, immune to blockades, and immune to the leverage of foreign powers. You must become a microstate of one. The shift begins with a total audit of your supply chain. Look at your life. Where are the choke points? Who holds the keys to your resources? Who controls your information? If your ability to execute a plan depends on a yes from another human being, you do not have a plan, you have a wish. Protocol 1. The sovereign loop. Most men operate on the dependency loop. Identify problem, signal distress, wait for help, resolve. This is the rhythm of a prey animal bleating for the herd. It signals weakness to every predator in the vicinity. You will shift to the sovereign loop. Identify problem, acquire skill, execute solution. There is no signaling phase, there is no waiting phase. If you lack a skill required for your mission, you do not hire a partner, you aggressively download that competence into your own brain. You become the technician, the strategist, the financier, and the soldier. You must become a full-stack human. The moment you say, "I'm not good at numbers," or "I'm not a technical person," you are writing a check to the person who is. You are creating a vacancy for a parasite to enter your life. Close the vacancy. Protocol 2. Information asymmetry. When you operate with support, information is shared. It leaks. In autarky, you practice strict compartmentalization. You are the only one who sees the full board. If you must interact with others to achieve an objective, they are to be treated as tools, not partners.
They are given need-to-know access only. They perform a specific function, they are compensated, and they are dismissed. They never see the master plan. They are never given enough pieces of the puzzle to construct a picture of your true ambition. You are a black box. Resources go in, results come out. No one knows what happens inside the machine. Protocol 3. Velocity over consensus. The greatest strategic advantage of the autarkic operator is speed. While your competitors are scheduling meetings to discuss the viability of a move, you have already made it. While they are drafting emails to build consensus, you have already captured the territory. General George S. Patton said, "A good plan violently executed now is better than a perfect plan executed next week." When you have zero support, you have zero drag. You can pivot instantly. You can attack, retreat, and flank without explaining your logic to a committee of doubters. This agility allows you to outmaneuver organizations 10 times your size. You are a guerrilla force fighting a bloated bureaucracy. Protocol 4. The logistics of silence. Stop broadcasting your needs. The amateur complains about what he lacks, hoping someone will offer it. The professional acquires what he lacks in silence. Every time you complain about your isolation, you are advertising your vulnerability. You are telling the world, "I am incomplete." Silence is a force multiplier. When you achieve massive success with zero visible support, it terrifies your enemies. They cannot calculate your strength because they cannot see your supply lines. They look for your backers, your mentors, your team, and they find nothing. This creates a mythos around you. You become an anomaly. And in a world of sheep, the anomaly is the king. Operational autarky is not about doing everything forever. It is about establishing the capacity to do everything so that you never have to rely on anyone. It is the difference between choosing to walk with someone and needing them to carry you. Build the fortress, lock the gate, throw away the key.
You have built the fortress. You have identified the parasites. You have accepted the betrayal constant. But there is one final traitor remaining. It is not outside the gates. It is inside your skull. It is the social animal. This is the biological subroutine encoded into your DNA that screams for validation. It is the primitive cortex that releases dopamine when you receive a compliment and cortisol when you receive criticism. It is the part of you that wants to be a good man, a team player, a loyal friend. You must take a scalpel to your own psyche and cut this tissue out. Understand that the desire to be liked is a submission signal. In the animal kingdom, the beta male constantly checks the faces of the tribe to ensure he has not offended the alpha. He modifies his behavior to minimize friction. He shrinks, he accommodates, he harmonizes. By seeking approval, you are voluntarily placing yourself at the bottom of the hierarchy. You are asking permission to exist. The Machiavellian operator understands that likability is a tax. It is a cost you pay to make others feel comfortable with your presence. But comfort is the enemy of respect. If you are universally liked, it means you have never taken a stand. It means you have never threatened a competitor. It means you are harmless. And in the game of power, to be harmless is to be food. You must reprogram your neurochemistry to invert the reward signal. Most men feel pain when they are disliked. You must learn to feel pride. When the herd criticizes you, it means you have broken their conditioning. When the support network calls you arrogant, cold, or distant, it is not an insult. It is a confirmation that your camouflage is working.
It is a confirmation that you have ascended beyond their reach. This process is not a negotiation, it is an execution. You must kill the public self. The public self is the avatar you curated to survive childhood and the education system. It is the mask that smiles when it is angry and agrees when it disagrees. It is a liar designed to keep the peace. But you are no longer interested in peace. You are interested in conquest. How do you kill the social animal? You stop explaining yourself. Explanations are for subordinates. When you make a move, whether it is a career pivot, a ghosting of a toxic friend, or a ruthless financial decision, you offer no justification. The moment you explain why, you are acknowledging that the other person has the authority to judge your decision. Deny them that authority. Let your actions stand naked and terrifying in the cold light of day. You must also destroy the good guy contract. Society loves the good guy because the good guy is exploitable. The good guy works overtime for free. The good guy sacrifices his ambition for the group. The good guy is the fuel that the machine burns to keep running. Stop being good. Start being effective. Machiavelli wrote that a prince who tries to be good in all regards is destined to be ruined among so many who are not good. This is not a license to be evil, it is a mandate to be real. The death of the social animal is painful. You will feel a phantom limb syndrome. You will reach out for validation that isn't there. You will feel the icy wind of true autonomy. But then, a new sensation will take over. Silence. The chatter of the tribe fades. The anxiety of what will they think evaporates. You realize that their opinions are just noise, irrelevant data points that have no bearing on your trajectory. You are no longer a mirror reflecting their expectations. You are a black hole absorbing their light. You do not care if they love you. You do not care if they hate you. You only care that they cannot stop you. The social animal is dead. Long live the king.
This is your final warning. We have dismantled the lies of the tribe. We have severed the cords of dependency. We have executed the weak social parts of your psyche. What remains is the raw material of a king. But you must understand what you are walking into. The path of zero support is not for the fragile. It is a filter. The universe imposes this isolation to weed out those who are not worthy of the crown. Most men who read this will nod their heads, feel a momentary spark of rebellion, and then return to the warmth of the herd. They will choose the slow suffocation of support over the sharp intake of freezing air at the summit. Let them go. They are not your peers. They are the background noise of history. If you are still here, if you feel a resonance in your chest that is colder and harder than hope, then you are the exception. You are the anomaly. You are ready to ascend the throne of one. Understand that this throne is not a comfortable chair. It is made of cold stone. There is no one to share the burden. When you fail, the blame is entirely yours. When you succeed, the silence will be deafening. There will be no applause. Applause is for the performers in the circus, not for the architect who owns the tent. You do not need the clapping of hands. You need the bending of knees. You need the reality of your life to yield to your will. This is the price of sovereignty. You trade comfort for control. You trade connection for dominion. It is a trade that only the 1% of the 1% are willing to make. The higher you climb, the fewer people you will find. The air gets thin. The wind gets harsh. Do not look down. Do not look back at the valley where the sheep are huddled together for warmth. They are safe, yes, but they are trapped. You are free. You are dangerous. You are complete. The era of begging is over. The era of waiting is over. You have zero support? Good. That means you have zero limits. Now, walk into the dark, and do not stop until you own it.